Welcome to my channel. Today we will look at the untold legacy of Noah's son. We'll answer the question, who was Ham? In today's video, we're going to do our best to answer the question, who was Ham? There's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Ham was the second son of Noah and his wife, the first being Japheth and the youngest Shem. Ham is mentioned briefly in the Bible, but plays a vital role in the genealogical record of humanity after the Great Flood. He's an essential part of understanding human history because he is the ancestor of many of the nations that inhabited the earth during the time of Abraham and other figures in early biblical narratives. Some believe that the curse placed upon Ham by his father Noah after the flood led to the enslavement of Africans. However, this belief is not supported by the Bible or historical evidence. In fact, the curse was actually aimed at Canaan, Ham's son, who lived thousands of years before the transatlantic slave trade and was not related to the African continent. Nevertheless, over time, people have misinterpreted the curse of Canaan as a justification for owning other people. This misunderstanding has resulted in a lot of pain and suffering for many people, especially Africans and their descendants. It's important to remember that Ham himself was not cursed, nor was the African continent. Instead, the curse was meant for Canaan, who lived thousands of years before the Atlantic slave trade began. Some people also believe that Ham was cursed because he mocked his father Noah after he got drunk and exposed himself. However, there is no evidence to support this claim in the Bible. The story of Noah and his sons is found in the book of Genesis, chapters 9 to 11. After the flood, Noah and his family emerged from the ark, and Ham's action of uncovering his father's nakedness led to a curse being pronounced on his son Canaan. Despite the curse, Ham went on to become the ancestor of several significant nations, including Egypt, Greece, Libya, Put, Ethiopia, Somalia, the Philistines, and the Canaanites. The Bible describes Ham as the father of 4 sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Ham are known as Hamites, and they played a crucial role in the history of the ancient world. Hamites are believed to have migrated to various parts of Africa and Asia, where they established numerous kingdoms and empires. For example, the Egyptians, who were descended from Mizraim, developed one of the oldest civilizations in history, known for its monumental architecture and cultural achievements. The Kush Empire, which originated from Ham's son, Cush, also left a lasting impact on African history with its rich heritage and powerful rulers. Despite their significant contributions to human civilization, the descendants of Ham have often been marginalized and stereotyped due to their association with the curse of Ham. This curse has been misinterpreted and misused throughout history to justify slavery, racial prejudice, and social inequality. For instance, during the Middle Ages, some European Christians used the curse of Ham to support the enslavement of Africans, claiming that it was divinely ordained. Similarly, in the United States, the curse of Ham was invoked to maintain racial hierarchy and justify the oppression of African Americans. However, a closer examination of the biblical text reveals that the curse was not intended to condemn an entire race or continent, but rather to address the specific actions of Canaan. Furthermore, the curse does not appear in the original Hebrew text, but is found only in the Septuagint, a Greek translation of the Old Testament. This translation was completed around the 3rd century BC, long after the events described in Genesis. Moreover, the use of the curse of Ham to justify slavery and racial prejudice is inconsistent with the teachings of Jesus Christ, who emphasized love, compassion, and equality. In fact, the earliest Christian writers such as Justin Martyr and Irenaeus explicitly rejected the notion that the curse of Ham applied to Africans or justified slavery. They argued that the curse was a misinterpretation of Scripture and should not be used to oppress or exploit others. Despite these theological arguments, the curse of Ham continued to be invoked by those seeking to maintain racial hierarchies and justify slavery. During the transatlantic slave trade, European traders and colonial rulers used the curse of Ham to dehumanize Africans and legitimize their enslavement. They claimed that Africans were cursed by God and destined to be enslaved, which made it permissible for them to capture, sell, and abuse Africans without remorse. This distorted interpretation of the curse of Ham had devastating consequences for millions of Africans who were forcibly transported across the Atlantic Ocean to work on plantations in the Americas. They were subjected to brutal treatment, including physical abuse, sexual exploitation, and the denial of basic human rights. The curse of Ham became a tool used to maintain the power and wealth of European empires while perpetuating systemic racism and social inequality. It's important to note that the use of the curse of Ham to justify slavery and racial prejudice is not supported by the historical or theological record. In fact, the curse was not intended to condemn an entire race or continent, but rather to address the specific actions of Canaan. Moreover, the earliest Christian writers explicitly rejected this interpretation and condemned the use of the curse of Ham to oppress or exploit others. Despite its biblical roots, the idea that Ham's descendants were cursed because of their skin color is not found in the original Hebrew text and goes against the teachings of Jesus Christ. In fact, the earliest Christian writers rejected this interpretation and condemned the use of the curse of Ham to oppress or exploit others. Over time, the curse of Ham has taken on a life of its own and has been used to justify all sorts of harmful and discriminatory practices. But it's important to remember that the curse was never meant to be a blanket condemnation of an entire group of people. Instead, the story of Ham and his descendants teaches us some important lessons about respect, obedience, and the consequences of our actions. Ham's decision to mock his father, Noah, led to a curse being placed on his son Canaan, which in turn affected future generations. This teaches us that our actions have ripple effects that can extend far beyond ourselves, and that it's important to treat others with respect and dignity. While Ham is often remembered for his mistakes, it's important to remember that he was also the father of many great nations and cultures. The Egyptians, Kush Empire, and others who descended from Ham's sons made significant contributions to human history and culture. Ham's legacy is a reminder that even those who make mistakes can still leave a positive mark on the world. Ultimately, the story of Ham is a reminder of the complexities of human history and the importance of understanding different cultures and perspectives. While the curse of Ham has been used to justify terrible things in the past, it's important to remember that it was never the true intent of the story. By learning from the mistakes of the past and treating each other with love and respect, we can create a better future for all of us. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new about the untold legacy of Noah's son. If you want to learn more about the Bible and other historical figures, please subscribe and like the video. Thank you for watching. Now let's look at the question, who was Ham? What does the Bible say? As the third son of Noah, Ham finds his place in history through the narrative of the Great Flood and the subsequent repopulating of the world. According to the biblical account in Genesis chapter 9, verse 18, Ham is credited with being the father of 4 sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, whose descendants are said to have become the ancestors of various nations and people groups. However, Ham's story takes a dramatic turn in Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 to 27, where his actions following the flood lead to a significant moment of tension and consequence within his family. In this passage, it's described how Noah, after planting a vineyard, drank wine and became intoxicated. As a result, he became unclothed while inside his tent. Upon seeing his father's state, Ham, along with his brothers, took notice and did not exhibit proper decorum or respect for their father's vulnerability. While Japheth is said to have covered Noah with his body, showing reverence, Ham shamefully uncovered his father's nakedness. Noah awoke from his slumber and, upon realizing what had transpired, pronounced a curse on Ham's offspring. Specifically, the curse was directed toward Canaan, Ham's youngest son, stating that Canaan would be subjected to a forced labor servitude under the rule of his brother's descendants. This act of disrespect by Ham toward his father led to a profound moment of confrontation and a stark reminder about the significance of familial duty, honor, and respect. It's important to note that while the term curse is used in the biblical narrative, it's derived from the Hebrew word arur, which literally means accursed. In ancient Near Eastern cultures, curses held immense weight and were believed to have real consequences. The pronouncement of a curse carried significant power and was thought to invoke divine judgment and retribution. Furthermore, the story of Ham and his sons provides a glimpse into the ancient Near Eastern understanding of the world and their place within it. The narrative highlights the importance of genealogy and lineage, as well as the belief in the power of curses and divine pronouncements. The story also touches upon themes of respect, honor, and duty within families, and the consequences of failing to uphold these values. The biblical account of Ham, while brief, offers a complex and multifaceted perspective on human nature and the dynamics of family relationships. The story serves as a reminder of the challenges of intergenerational relationships and the importance of treating one's elders with respect and dignity. The curse of Canaan serves as a potent symbol of the enduring impact of our actions and the weight of our words, particularly when it comes to our interactions with those in positions of authority or vulnerability. By examining the story of Ham, we gain insight into the cultural norms and beliefs of the ancient world and the profound impact that family dynamics can have on shaping history and shaping our understanding of right and wrong. The story of Ham is a potent reminder of the importance of respect, honor, and duty within families, and the enduring consequences of our actions and words. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Please subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this.